Hi everyone, I'm Ellen Jaffe Jones, and I want to talk to you today about sleep and its effect on aging, or maybe it should be aging and its effect on sleep. Maybe it's the elephant in the room, or maybe we should say it's the sheep in the room, or maybe it's the dog in the room who is keeping you up at night. But whatever it is, as we age, things start to become unglued. So this is something I have struggled with forever since I was a child. And, maybe we'll call it fear of abandonment, but my first sister left home when I was 8. My second left when I was 11. And it was very traumatic. I remember not being able to fall asleep. I couldn't fall asleep knowing that she was not coming into the bedroom that we, at least up until that point, had shared. And it was just very upsetting. Being so much younger than my sisters, there was always that feeling of like, what happened to them? Where did they go? And that would keep me awake at night. And I remember from a very young age of trying to learn how to fall asleep. And some of it was just counting sheep or doing deep breathing. And of course, eventually that would work. So that was my introduction to it. And I have flirted with insomnia at different times of my life. I remember my daughter sharing that she was taking melatonin, and I glommed onto that. But even though melatonin is not supposed to be habit forming, you do get used to a certain routine. And if I stress nothing in here, but understanding that we are creatures of routine and we have to do things to kind of stick to the program if we want to resolve our sleep issues. And there's so many ways. I don't want to take up your time telling you things that you can find anywhere on Dr. Google, but the effects of not sleeping can wreak havoc with our weight. It plays out in its release of hormones, and it can create belly fat when our hormones are disrupted. And so there are just so many different ways that sleep interruption, insomnia, lack of sleep, especially chronically over a period of days, weeks, and even a lifetime, can play into our health. There's even studies that show that light in our rooms, if you can see your hand, hold up your hand in the dark, if you can see it in any form, your room isn't dark enough. So I encourage you to kind of take that test and let me know if you've done it and if you've noticed a change, if you have gotten rid of even LED lights in your room that might be creating ambient light or street light. There's street lights. There's a study out of Israel that shows that there are more health issues, especially cancer, when people have just ambient street light coming in through their windows at night. So make it as dark as you can. As humans, think about how I always, in my 6 cookbooks, I always talk about what did our ancestors really do, and what did our ancestors really do before electricity? They went to sleep when it got dark, daylight savings time or not. So another thing that has been kind of a wake-up call is the different sleep issues that we can be diagnosed with. And there are actually sleep doctors that can give you a sleep analysis. You go take a test. It used to be you'd go into a lab, but now all these things have become very portable, so a sleep study can be done at your home for a couple of nights. And I was with a partner once who sadly was a Vietnam vet and I believe had undiagnosed post-traumatic stress syndrome, so much so he had told me about issues where he would wake up believing that his dream was real. And that happened a lot of times when we were together, so much so that we had to sleep separately toward the end of our relationship. Unfortunately, because he had been traumatized in Vietnam, he just never was able to deal with the stress that played out into his sleep patterns. And just make sure that you are getting appropriate medical intervention if you suspect that something else is going on. Another thing that can play out is, especially if you are overweight, is sleep apnea. And a lot of times what happens as we age, it's not only excess weight that the fat will just kind of play havoc in different parts of our body and clogging up our airways, taking up space so that we snore at night, especially when we're on our back. So that may be an issue, but sometimes just the lack of exercise and muscle tone, it doesn't just affect other parts of our body like our legs, our hips, our glutes, our arms. It also affects our neck and all the organs connected in our body, so that when we lie on our back, the glottis, which is that thing that hangs down at the back of your throat, it can, if it's not toned like the rest of our muscles in our body should be, even as we age, it can relax, it can extend, and it can partially block your airwaves. So they can even do surgery for that. Of course, there's a surgery for that. But these are the kinds of things that, as that saying goes, getting old is not for sissies. As we age, it becomes more difficult to stay in deep sleep, to get there in the first place. So there are things that you can do so that it doesn't mess with your sleep patterns. The first thing is, if you were drinking coffee or green tea, do not drink it past, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 in the afternoon. You may have to experiment with this. But there's a reason they have high tea in Europe or other cultures where tea drinking is done mainly in the afternoon. You don't see cultures drinking their caffeine later in the day because it keeps you up, and you do not want to do that. For some people, as you age, you become even more caffeine sensitive, and you may find that you just can't deal with it at all. So, I'd be curious, drop in the comments below any challenges you've had if you were going through this too, and maybe some solutions you've come up with. Sometimes replacing the coffee or the tea with decaf. I know it doesn't often taste as good as the real thing, but maybe you can find something, a hazelnut that's decaf, that will give you that rush of flavor that you're used to. There have been so many studies that show lack of sleep interferes with brain function, and if you find that you can't focus or that maybe you're not remembering things, look at your sleep patterns. Look at how well you were sleeping. So what is a good night's sleep? Well, as my daughters like to say, it's different for everybody. My ex-husband said he only needed 4 or 5 hours of sleep a night, but for reasons I won't get into, I think that is not true generally, unless you're Einstein himself. I mean, there are some geniuses out there in history who allegedly only slept a few hours a night. But I think most of us need somewhere between 6 and 9 hours a night. And if you sleep more than that, that can be problematic too. It can be a sign of depression or just other things that are going on that you should check with your doctor about if you're having any of these issues. The most important thing is sticking to a schedule, whatever that is. Try and go to sleep the same time every night. Try and wake up without an alarm, same time every morning. It just really helps you get into this pattern. Get rid of all the electronics in your room. I did actually just today go out and buy a clock. I had one in the room, but the LED light on it was bright enough that it was really interfering. I could see my hand in front of my face, even though I had the dimmer all the way down. But what put me over the edge to get this $20 clock at the grocery store, and we'll see how well it works tonight, is that my partner woke me up in the middle of the night last night to ask me what time it is, because we have all of our electronics, the few that we do have, on my side of the bed. So I've told him, I'm available for him anytime he wants, like especially in an emergency, but waking me up to ask me what time it is does not count. So we'll see if this clock, which does have a dimmer on it, we'll see how well it works through the night tonight. But those are the kinds of things you have to have blackout curtains, and just make sure that room is as dark as you can make it. The problem becomes if you are sleep deprived, then you feel like the next morning, oh, I got to have coffee, and you drink more coffee or caffeine throughout the day, and it just becomes this vicious cycle of I can't get enough sleep, and then you got to self-medicate with caffeine the next day. Not okay. So you should develop a routine of trying to signal the body it's time to wind down. Turn off all the lights 3 hours before bedtime, no electronics if you can possibly do that. Also, make sure you're getting enough exercise, because exercise really tires you out and you'll be ready for sleep. Try not to do exercise, my feeling is, toward the end of the day, because it's about blood flow, and you're going to be so much more energized if you exercise in the morning when you are more excited about doing it, especially as your day begins. And you'll probably find you get a lot more done during the day if you have exercised in the morning. Can't stress enough, eating a balanced diet. Of course, my bias is whole foods, plant-based, vegan diet. So you are not constipated. You definitely won't be eating a vegan diet so that your arteries aren't all clogged with cholesterol. It kind of is hard to sleep if you've had a heart attack or a stroke, and all the issues you would have to deal with going through that. Been there, done that. Not for myself, but my exes. As one of the doctors said, why don't you eat the way your wife eats 3 times a day? You live with one of the best vegan cookbook authors in America. And his answer was, I can't. And the real answer is, I won't. So you have to decide how much you are motivated to do this. I often say in my cooking classes, people get desperate on their deathbeds. And I do see some really pretty cool reversals and changes at that point, but sometimes it is too little too late. Other things that can help you relax, of course, meditation, yoga, transcendental meditation. If you have a mantra, I still use mine when I go to sleep. I just say that thing every time I inhale and then exhale. And that still is really the best thing. That works for me better than melatonin. And it's just so much more natural and healthy not to be reliant on outside inputs. Blue light filters can also be very helpful. The clock that I bought today is blue. And many of the clocks in stores are blue because blue light makes us less likely to be alert from other colors of light. I guess that's Mother Nature saying, okay, the sky is blue at night. It's a really dark navy blue, and that's what we need to sleep. Again, what did Mother Nature intend? There are also some great sleep apps now. Of course, the iPhone, you can wear that to sleep. The battery lasts longer now. So the next morning or in a couple days, you can look at your sleep patterns and give that to the sleep doctor, and they'll be able to tell pretty right off where they need to go with a sleep study or any further investigation into issues you may or may not be having. I got a sleep study test done, and he said, you're in like the 99 percentile of people your age in terms of sleeping. So that made me feel pretty good. And maybe you go and get one of those tests just to put your mind at ease that all is well. In summary, I can't stress enough the importance of getting a good night's sleep and making that a habit for the rest of your life to enjoy good health and a wonderful life, however you define it, however you want to live your best life at this point. It's just critical to make these positive changes that can really help you in ways that you may not have even imagined. And when you see the difference, it's like, I don't want to go back. I would love to hear from you about any challenges that you might have had or still have with sleeping and how you're dealing with it, if you are. If you've tried different things, what works, what doesn't. And if you have found value in our content here, I hope that you'll like and subscribe so that you'll get notified every time I post a video about something that you can do to improve your health. It is never too late. I just always want to say that age is just a number. And I hope that you'll like and subscribe. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video where I will address all the different comments and the different issues that people are bringing up. Because, I used to be a TV reporter, so I have 2 ears and 1 mouth, and I want to hear from you what you'd like to know about healthy aging and longevity as we plow through the final chapters of our life. Although I'm planning to live to 120, aren't you? All right, everyone, gotta run.